No one has the right to judge you. No one has the right to judge you. This is your life, your soul, your heart. Only you know what's right for you. Reality transurfing is really about taking charge of learning your heart's desire. Trusting yourself, pulling away from outside forces, mostly defined as destructive pendulums. Reality transurfing is not the only thing I'm into, just so you know. I believe in magic. I practice witchcraft. And I'm inclined to dabble in whatever suits me because that's my life. The following is a musing about reality transurfing, something I thought of several days ago and decided to record. And I basically tell a story. It's made up because I'm a writer. I write fiction. Don't ask me to write nonfiction because I'm not going to do it unless I feel like it. I'm very happy to have discovered reality transurfing. But I'm not going to lie and pretend I understand it. It hasn't been that long since I've started learning about it, and I'm still rereading and rereading and rereading as much as I can. And every time I read it or hear it, if I'm listening to someone else read it, I'm reminded of just how much I still don't grasp, that I still don't understand, and in some cases don't agree with or want to agree with. I mean, I think the way reality transurfing lays things out helps the mind let go of ideas about personal limitations a little bit more than, say, maybe, other strategies for liking yourself, feeling better with your life, having a better life, self-development, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, whatever brings us all to places like this, whatever brought you here, whatever brought me here. You know what I mean? Reality transurfing is just another set of ideas that sound very plausible once you begin to hear it. And certain aspects of it, when applied, which are relatively easy to apply, because it doesn't require expensive equipment or memorizing stuff or setting up an altar or spending a year balancing a book on your head or any of that stuff. It's just, the next time you have you get caught up in a tweet about trump, you remind yourself that you're being pulled into a pendulum. So you want to just let that go and maybe think twice about even being on Twitter at all, and go do something towards your goals. Wow. I mean, it's not like original to talk about focusing on goals, but it is sort of original to directly correlate getting pulled into something, a pendulum, which we'll go into in great length in another video, not this one, that when you're pulled into the pendulum, you're truly getting sucked away from your heart's desire. Okay? In most cases, sometimes the pendulum is your heart's desire, right? But we'll talk about that more later. And that's not something that I've heard Vadim discuss. So this is my conclusion, my modification to it. Because that's what we do. We take the bits and pieces of what we've learned, and we hang on to those things which work and resonate in our souls, and we move forward with those. Unless we're afraid to do anything that isn't by the book, in which case we do exactly what we're supposed to do, then decide it doesn't work, then move on to the next thing, do the same thing again. That's not me. Okay? I mean, I do move on to the next thing, but not after following directions. Let's just put it that way. And which is probably even worse. So I'm not judging anyone. Now I've lost my train of thought. See what you people do. See what you people do. No, seriously. I just wanted to give you a little background here about who you're dealing with. The name that I came up with is absurd, but it's what I came up with, so I'm just going to stick with it for a while. Who knows? I mean, I wanted to be, how do you do a YouTube channel for the witch who's not been doing it forever like a lot of witches have, who's only sort of recently in the last 6 months got serious about it after years of, sticking a toe in and then walking away again without really learning anything. And now that I've started up again, I have learned quite a bit, and I'm like a lot of you people, I hate that word, a lot of you might be, sorry about that, you know what I mean, perhaps you're watching YouTube videos to find guidance, right? Just looking, what should I do? I don't know what to do with my life, right? That's where I was at. I was struggling, to pull out some happiness and get out of the ruts of existence and regain my confidence and my mojo, my spark, get healthier, just stuff like that. And then in the process, I kind of got sucked into the world of magic again, and I, for the first time, started following and watching videos, for people who were teaching and practicing and sharing, and it was inspiring to me, and I immediately felt this urge to do it, which I disregarded as just another form of distraction, which I'm not saying it isn't. heaven knows there's many things I need to get to that I'm just an expert at putting off as long as possible. But me having a good life and not dying miserable, I think is a priority. So this other shit can just stuff it for a minute, right? Yeah. So that's enough out of me. So I'm going to stop talking now and let you hear the musings about destructive pendulums and how, in one imaginary example, by stepping away from a destructive pendulum, even for a few hours, in this example, a young man found love. That's one of my favorite parts of this transurfing, reality transurfing concepts. And perhaps I've heard that before, but that's really not what I've been taught. I've been taught that people do have the right to judge you. You have to look the part. You have to smell nice. You have to dress well. You have to not make mistakes. You have to get good grades. You have to honor your parents, honor your country, honor your religion, your political party, your spouse, your children. It's just, all these people all the time expecting certain things of you, and it's your job to provide those things if you're going to be a good mother, a good wife, a good human female. Those are some of the messages that I received, and they are hard to let go of, right? But maybe that's not what Vadim Zeland means. Maybe he's trying to let go of the idea that you need to let those people decide what that means to you, and that you need to instead decide what honoring or loving your parents, however you want to describe it, if that's what you want, if that's what feels right to you, if that's what's in your heart, if that's what your soul desires, right? Loving your parents is a bad example. Loving children and parents usually, or whatever, you know what I mean. But for something like becoming a pianist, maybe to honor your parents would be to do what they say, and that's to become a pianist. But what you want to do is learn how to grow daisies or something. Wild. You want to repopulate damaged wildlands. Maybe, who knows? Whatever your dream is, it's your dream, it's your soul, it's your desire, right? No, you don't want to become a doctor, even though you've got the brain capacity and doctors run in your family, and everyone else is a doctor. Maybe you don't want to be a doctor, right? And even though your parents know that you don't want to be a doctor because you've told them enough times and you have other ambitions and dreams, they've convinced you that you should at least be a doctor first so that you can have something to fall back on should becoming an artist not work out. And so there you are now, becoming a doctor and spending the best years of your young life learning to become a doctor, something you don't want to do. Just to honor your parents. That's not what I'm talking about. And by being able to listen to your heart and then act upon the desires of your heart as opposed to the desires of your mind, which will deceive you because of pendulums, which will trick you and pull you into their little dangerous life tracks, I think is the best way to describe that. And before you know it, things are not going the way you want. You're not finding your dreams coming to reality. You're too busy complaining about how much you hate your job, or how much you hate Bill Clinton, or how much you hate
you know, bad baseball players or whatever. We're just, or we're on Facebook making, you know, getting upset with something that's happened and talking about it and rallying people around towards it or whatever. I mean, you're caught up in a pendulum, and it's taking up your energy, and it's pulling you away from what's in your heart, because you're caught up in something that's really not who you are necessarily. And I'm not saying everyone caught up in political stuff is not being who they are, but it's sometimes hard to stop doing something that you once enjoyed, because letting go of it will make you feel even more alone in the world. So you hang on to it even though it's self-destructive and annoying and just, not healthy. And it's keeping you from your life's goals, but you do it because of the pendulum in that group, that group think, whatever it is, right? Let's say, for example, you were 16 and you were like a really amazing gamer and you started a YouTube channel and you got a bunch of followers and it's a way to make money, but at the same time you've realized that you've gained 50 pounds and you're addicted to smoking or some other unhealthy thing, and you haven't talked to your parents in like 6 months, and your your relationships with girls are just bad in every way. Every girl you pick is just a freaking nightmare after about the first 4 months, and so you just don't even do it anymore. But now you're lonely, and then you have your friends come over, but they just sort of annoy you, and everybody's just too high all the time, and you're just like, oh god, you're trying to remember what it was like to have fun that isn't just, fuck you and kill and, all that screaming sort of violent guy gaming shit. It's just, part of you wants to, and I'm just imagining, guys, I don't know if anyone out there is like that. But if I was you and I was a guy, I'd probably get to that point. Okay, so from my point of view, that's where I'd be at. Maybe guys don't get like that, but if you are like that, or you know what I'm saying, it could be anything. Just fill in the blanks. Change the occupation. You went from loving something, been doing it for a long time, and then starting to drag on you. It's like, I really don't want to go. I really don't want to do this, but I'm expected, and now it's become a burden, and it's not doing anything for you, and you just want to change. But you're afraid because, if you stop feeding the pendulum, you won't be popular anymore. You'll lose followers. Your income will drop. That's an example of the YouTube gamer. And how will you support yourself? You'll have to go get a job. That's gonna take up a bunch of time, and frickin' people that don't know what games are, or maybe you have to work for a gaming company, but you're not really good at drawing or anything. You're just good at playing, and they need testers, but they're really hard to get those jobs, and what a pain in the butt. And so you just say fuck it, and you go back to doing what you were gonna do originally, which is go do the gaming thing, even though you really don't want to. Drink another 7,000 Diet Cokes or regular Cokes or Pepsis or whatever it is you're into. Smoke a bunch of cigarettes, feel like crap, go to bed drunk, and start the day over the next day. It's kind of depressing. All this time there's this girl who lives down the street, who works at the gas station, who's seen you a couple of times, and every time she sees you, you don't know this, but her heart sort of just flashes a little, and And once you said something really sweet to her, and she's just was really amazed by the color of your eyes, and you know, you don't even know that she's there. And she doesn't really know that she's that into you, but she just felt something, and every time you come to the store, she feels it again, and then she kind of forgets about you, but every time you show up, there she is feeling it again. You haven't been there in a while, she's forgotten about you, and she's off on her own life track, but because you've changed your mind, you know, and instead of staying for the usual 4 hours of gaming, you left after 30 minutes. Just said something, or maybe you said nothing. Maybe the rules are in the gaming world that when you leave, you're gone, and people say, "Where's so and so?" You don't care, and you don't check, and they can just talk themselves, right, or something. I don't know how it works. I just don't know. I'm just imagining how it would be if it were me. But you've made the decision to just, you know, drop it and not do it, and go back home, or go back to some other plan. Maybe you're gonna go to the store, go to frickin' Macy's, just buy yourself a nice pair of, you know, some sort of adult clothing, or something that a guy would wear if he was going out on a date. You know, just maybe if you had the clothes of a guy going out on a date on, and maybe if you went to the barber and had your hair cut, and if you went home and took a shower, obviously all those things not in that order, then maybe you start going around places that aren't where your usual hangouts are, which is typically just your bedroom or on your couch in your living room. You know, maybe if you kind of got out, you'd feel better. And then you do it, and you do feel better. That you're not feeling better enough to approach anyone. It's only a little bit better, and it comes and goes like in a wave, and eventually you sort of sigh after sort of making an effort to sort of make eye contact with one of the girls that looked kind of cute. But she just blew you off, and you know, after that you paid for your last drink, and even though you didn't have any, you know, it was just one drink, you're really not drunk, you've been, you know, you're smart, you're not going to drink and drive. That's why you always hang out at home. It's another good reason, right? So you're on your way back. You've got a beer in you, maybe two if that's your capacity. Again, it wouldn't be me. One would be more than enough for me to be behind the wheel of a car. I wouldn't even do it. Half a beer, maybe I'd drive. Yeah, lightweight. But of course, that's probably not you. So you're driving home now, and you're thinking, well, this was a waste of time. I wonder how many people made talk smack about me for not being there for the whole time, or you know, whatever it is, your pendulum, you know, the world in the pendulum, and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about what they've posted on whatever social media thing you people post your stuff on, whatever, you know, Reddit, forums, Snapchat, I don't know, Facebook, Instagram, I don't know, I'm not, you know, I'm freaking old, so don't even expect me to know all this stuff. But so here you are, thinking about already getting pulled back in, thinking about it. The yellow light on your dashboard lights up, and you see it, and you realize, oh shit, I'm out of gas. I forgot all about that. And then you see a gas station up ahead, and you pull in, and you know, you go to the machine, and there's a sticker on it, and you're like, shit, thinking it's out of order, but then you read it, and it just says, ATM not working, go inside for debit or whatever. So you go inside, and there's that girl you've seen before, And you realize, yeah, it's always like that stupid pump. And you need to remember, you're kicking yourself in the head. It's just that one pump. You have to just try the other side of the island. You could have not avoided the issue. And you're kind of deriding yourself for being an idiot. And you walk into the store, and the girl behind the counter is in the process of putting something into like packing cigarettes overhead or something. Her arms are up in the air, and all you can see is her boobs sort of swinging, and her face is sort of hidden by wherever she's standing next to, and you're suddenly paying attention, and then she moves just enough that she can see you, and all of a sudden her eyes light up and she drops the carton of cigarettes, and then she says, "Oh, I'm sorry," and reaches down to get it and bangs her head on the countertop and collapses. And you're like, "Good Lord, oh my God!" And there's no one else in the store. You look around, and so you start banging on the door, and she's unconscious. She's not, and then she starts to stir, and he's like, "How do I get in? Because the door is locked." And she said, "It's okay, I'll get it." And she gets up, and she's really kind of not looking so good, and you're like, "You need to open that door. Let me help you. You need to sit down." She's like, "Okay. Oh my God. We should call 911. I'm going to be all right." "No, I'm insisting on it." And you call 911 because she's suffering. She hit her head serious. There's blood, and you're holding on to her as you get her outside, because there's no frickin' chairs in the 7-Eleven gas station. And you find a bench. And finally, the guy who's working at that 7-Eleven itself comes rushing out to assist, and takes over the gas station duty, and stops stalking in the back, or wherever he was the whole time. She was, bleeding on the floor, and she's hanging on to you as you try to pull away after you sat her down on the bench. She's like, "No, stay with me." And you do. You sit down next to her, and you put your arm around her because it's cold. And you take your jacket off and wrap it around her shoulders because it's cold. And you say, just hold on. Just rest against me. They're going to be here soon. And then you hear the sirens. And by the time they get there, she's out again. And you're really worried about her. And you're holding onto her, and you're looking into her face, and you're thinking how beautiful she is, and you're just hoping that she's going to be okay. And it suddenly occurs to you that the only reason she hurt herself was because you were there and you startled her, and a sense of guilt overwhelms you, and you feel yourself praying for a second, something you don't do, and you pray to your God, whatever that is, that this girl be okay, because you want to ask her out if she's going to be okay. And that's how it started. You fell in love with this woman. She got out. You started dating. And 20 years later, you're happily married. You have a family. And you've prospered in your life. In whatever field it is your heart desired. But the first time you let yourself pull yourself out of a pendulum, this happened. This is fiction, obviously. I'm a writer, okay? But the point is, if that young man had stayed on his couch for the entire 4 hours he'd originally set up the expectation from other people as a result of the pendulum, the influences of the pendulum, or just however you want to describe it. You guys may not know what a pendulum is, but just, he was under the influence of external forces, meaning he was doing what other people wanted him to do, even though it's not really what he wanted. Because remember, he didn't really want to do it, but he ended up doing it in the end because the alternative stuff he was trying to think of to do just didn't feel right to him, and he didn't feel comfortable going to do it, so he ended up getting back into his rut out of habit and comfort. And in the book, Vadim talks about that you may have a really old, battered, disgusting looking sitting chair or lazy boy or whatever that you've been using for a long time that you need to get rid of and get a new, cleaner, less disgusting version of the same thing, but you're afraid to do it because the new one's going to take a while it may not be as comfortable. How can it be? Or maybe you're just too afraid to spend the money or too lazy and you don't care. I don't want to be derogative, you know what I mean? But that's why you're just not doing it, because it takes too much effort. That's not necessarily laziness, but that's essentially what it is. In other words, it's not important enough to you. That's the bottom line. It's not important enough to you, even though from time to time, seeing it for yourself when the sun shines through and you see how disgusting that thing is, or if somebody comes over and you realize that you're kind of embarrassed and you wish you had a clean towel to throw over it, you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
So that's an illustration of how letting go of a destructive pendulum long enough to pull yourself out of its sway can allow you to find an alternative path in your life, one that might work out for the better. And yes, that was fictional, but in reality transurfing, there is an infinite number of alternate possibilities. So even if it's fictional, it's certainly possible. And that's the point of this. Coming up in my next video, I'm going to tell you how I believe a recent manifestation came into my life as a result of reality transurfing. Thank you for watching.